Everything starts from awareness.
Good leadership is simply catalyst.
Focus on the reason and you'll find inspiration in anything.
This impact continues to grow.
Conversation about intentionality.
If you change nothing, nothing will change.
Welcome everyone to the Project Spiral podcast. I'm Tim.
And I'm Abigail.
And we're so excited to talk to you. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Wow, look at that energy. We love to see it. We love
Youthful energy, which we'll talk more about on this podcast.
It's very, right now, this is fascinating to me. Well, because, I literally got off a plane like a few hours ago and I am so jet lagged and so out of it. And I woke up just being like, what? We have to record. What is, and then Tim is like, I'm like ready to go. Like, I'm just like, I'll try to match the energy.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. I'll sing too.
I'll sing.
You don't have to know where you are. It's better to not know where you are. You open yourself up to the possibilities.
Anyway, Timmy. Anyway, spirit. Sorry.
Tim.
I don't know what I should call you. In the spirit of the season, what are you grateful for today?
Oh my God. I had a bike ride this morning and my headphones didn't work and it gave me a good chance to breathe today. I also have been playing more music lately on my saxophone clarinet, which I've been picking up for the first time in a while, and it's felt very nice. And I also am training for a marathon, which we'll talk more about on the podcast, but I've been able to eat a lot of carbs lately.
What? Wait, Timmy, wait.
What, Abby?
You're training for a marathon? I don't think you've ever
Okay.
Oh my God. Wow.
For those of you that didn't realize, Abby's being very sarcastic right now. It has become my personality. It is true. I fit into all the stereotypes. But that's true. But it ends on Saturday, so then it'll slowly fade away.
That's literally not true because Mom literally said you were training for a triathlon next.
Oh, I might trade for a triathlon. I'm thinking about that.
Okay, so it'll never end. Basically, it's just the beginning.
So it's become it'll never end. But still, we put our best foot forward. What are you grateful for?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I'm really grateful that it's finally gotten chilly because it's time. I'm grateful that I have such an amazing brother.
Aww.
All right, so who do we have on the show today? Or did you want to do a transition, a fancy
nice
transition?
People,
okay, speaking of nice people, there we go.
So we have a wonderful guest, Kehkashan Basu. Kehkashan is from Dubai and now lives in Toronto, and she runs an organization called Green Hope Foundation, which does work all around the world on sustainability projects, on fighting climate change, and also engaging youth in a lot of these projects. What did you enjoy about this conversation, Abby?
When we first met her, we heard about all her amazing accolades and titles. She's a United Nations human rights champion, a National Geographic Explorer, a UNCCD land hero, a UN Habitat Young City champion,
the first ever winner of the Voices Youth Gorbachev Schultz Legacy Award for her work on nuclear disarmament.
And she's on the list of Forbes 30 under 30. Like, when we first heard about all of this, we were like, oh my God, she sounds absolutely incredible. She's done all of this. We were maybe a little bit intimidated.
For sure.
Yeah. And then talking to her, I mean, one, she's every bit as amazing as all those titles suggest, even more so, but also so down to earth. so easy to talk to, and I left our conversation with a lot of like really solid steps to feeling more hopeful. And I like the whole point of the show is to feel more hopeful, and I've found that consistently everyone we've interviewed, when we're done with the interview, I leave like very buoyed up, which to me is a sign that we've done our job. And in this case, especially when we were finished talking with her, I was like, all right, let's go, let's do this. So yeah, I think you'll all really enjoy the episode.
So 2 takeaways. One, now that Abby is buoyed up, you should throw her into the ocean and see if she floats. And 2, you should enjoy the show because this will be an amazing episode. And I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to the show, Kehkashan.
Thank you so much for having me.
One theme of ours this year has been on the environment. So it's really awesome to talk to someone like you with your perspective, especially at a time when it often feels like there's a lot of reason not to hope in a better future environmentally, in terms of where the world is going. So where are you calling us in from?
I'm currently in Toronto, Canada.
Timmy, have you ever been to Toronto?
I've been in transit through Toronto, so no, I don't think that counts. Have you?
No, that does not count. No, it does not count.
Okay, if you're in an airport, that doesn't count as being in a place.
Everybody knows that. That does not count.
It doesn't.
It's literally universal knowledge and agreed upon by every sane person that being in an airport does not count as being in that city. And when people like are keeping track of how many countries they've been to and they include just the airports they've been to, but they haven't actually been outside, that's like major faux pas. No way. I know you've been to Canada, but you've not been to Toronto.
I've seen Toronto souvenirs. I saw a shop where there were Canadian flags present. Anyways, people don't want to listen to this podcast to hear about Canadian transit.
Wait, maybe they want to hear about Canadian transit, but they really don't want to hear about an American talking about being in the Toronto airport. That's what they don't want to hear.
Yeah, that's what they don't want to. Maybe they care about the airport, but not the American in there. Amen. So you do work on the ground in Canada. There's no question you've been to Canada as you live there. With what you're doing with Green Hope Foundation, you're doing very practical work on the ground, with youth, with others, and you've gotten a lot of awards for it. You've gotten a lot of really amazing recognition. But I'm just curious, just to start off with, like, what's the why underneath why you do what you do, and you've done it for a long time. So how is that why been sustainable for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it like almost my whole life. I think that I always say that, I'm very fortunate to have grown up in a family where taking care of the planet, taking care of other people, that was the norm. I would, my grandmother had the most beautiful terrace garden that was like its mini ecosystem by itself. That was self-sufficient, grow their own food there. My parents would distribute food and clothes to underserved communities every evening. I'd like accompany them, and so thinking about that, I was like, okay, this is normal for people. And then I saw this image of a dead bird with its stomach full of plastic when I was 7. I was like deeply, deeply disturbed by that because to my 7-year-old brain, I could not understand how anyone could be so cruel and like cause a living creature so much suffering. And as a very, very curious child, I realized it wasn't just, that dead bird. It was other animals, plants, living creatures, even human beings, and that were being destroyed as a result of just us as human beings not having that empathy and compassion. And so I'm born on 5th June. That's World Environment Day. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be my life's mission. This is what I was put on this earth to do. And so then I planted my first tree on my 8th birthday. And I was like, this is the start of my journey. And then, I started engaging with other children who were my age, trying to get them to see the world as I saw that, okay, there are problems that are there, but we need to be able to address it. And starting educating them about it, started taking small everyday actions, whether that was, reaching out to our neighborhood salons to reduce their water wastage or not use hazardous materials in their products, or reaching out to restaurants to help with their waste segregation and ensure that they weren't wasting food, because there was a food crisis that's going on around in the world. And then as a result of that work, I was invited to speak at the United Nations and share the work I was doing. So I was 11 at the time. But it was really like the following year in 2012, I was invited to speak at the Rio Plus 20 Earth Summit, which was the largest sustainable development conference of the time. And there were 50,000 delegates there, only 5 people under the age of 18. And I was like, okay, the lack of inclusivity here is just so glaring. And as I looked around, it wasn't just, children that weren't involved, but women, people from underserved communities. It was like, you're talking about the future we want. That was the outcome document. But most of the people who were going to be part of that weren't involved. And so that is when I returned home and I founded Green Hope Foundation to provide this platform of learning that turns into ground level action.
That's really really interesting. I have a number of thoughts. What you said about the image of the bird reminds me. I think the first image that really affected me with the environment was seeing Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth back in the early 2000s. And seeing, I don't think it was a real image. I think it was an animation of a polar bear trying to climb onto ice and it falling apart, and just saying like, oh, wow, we're just a very tangible thing where and I think that's something where our generation is able to have access to those images in a way that's different than folks in the past, in terms of empathy and being able to literally see pain and witness pain. Yeah, the second part of what you're saying too, with speaking at the UN, and also feeling, am I wrong to say you felt alone in terms of representation, in terms of other youth?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that there was this very big gap in what I was seeing with, what was going on at the highest levels of policymaking, how disconnected it was from ground level realities, because one, people weren't represented there, but also I kind of felt that they were focusing on the wrong thing. I remember attending my first, the negotiations, and they were debating on menu or set, what word to use, and it went on for 5 hours. And I was like, there are people dying out there. There are animals that are literally becoming extinct as we speak, and you're debating about menu or set. Like, how does that matter? It doesn't. It really, in the long run, with the outcome document, you wouldn't even notice menu or set. Like, it just didn't matter. And I think that I was like, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of just on an island here, and there's like so many other things going on around me. And so I was like, okay, the real action to make sure that people were involved in that, children at the time like me were involved in it. I was like, okay, I need to do something to get them involved. I was involved, but others still weren't. And so that is why I was like, okay, yeah, Green Hope Foundation was the answer to that.
I'm wondering, just kind of like from your own emotional perspective, because I mean, what Tim and I have talked about on this show literally since the beginning is kind of what to do when the enthusiasm and like optimism of youth meets the cynicism of older people who are like, you just don't, like, that's cute. It's really cute that you think you can change something. It's like really cute that you think that any of this can get better, but just wait, like, you'll see, you'll lose that hope. And so they don't take you seriously. And I think, like, just from a personal perspective, I've definitely experienced that. Just coming, I remember in, like, as a student, even like up through college, really being like, yeah, this, we can change the environment, like we can change climate change, like we can reverse this, like absolutely, we just need to be out there. Like, I just felt really strongly that we just needed the right people, which I mean is still the case, but I just felt like it was really possible. And I feel like the older I've gotten, the more that energy has seeped away. And as I've seen every initiative fail, and then just all these reversals and reversals and reversals, and just feeling my own self just be like, oh, okay, maybe we actually can't. Like, maybe there's actually nothing we can do. And feeling that hope, believe, and having to fight really hard to even just like keep it alive every single day. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, as someone who has made this, your life mission, I you need to feel that energy every single day in order to inspire others. So how do you wake up every single day and say, like, yeah, we can, yeah, absolutely, it's possible to make a change without like losing your mind?
Yeah, I completely understand. I think the world that we live in now is just, there's so many horrible things happening all at the same time, and it's been that way for quite some time now. And yeah, for sure, I think it can be easy to feel like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing isn't, affecting anything. It's like you can feel hopeless. And but for me, and the reason I named my organization Green Hope Foundation was because I saw that even the smallest action could make a difference, and that is what kept the hope alive. Even the smallest wins do count. And for me, working to address these kind of existential crises, climate change for example, but also like the triple planetary crisis, all of the mass inequalities that do exist, I kind of see the work that I do as, if you plant an oak tree, you're not gonna, like, the tree is not gonna grow and become a big oak tree in one day. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take, like, sunlight, water, a lot, many years to be able to kind of become that big oak tree. And that's kind of how I see the work that I do. It doesn't mean that, it's not effective, or it's like, we should just like cut it down and leave it on the side. But it means that it takes time for the impact or even like the results to be seen. And that's kind of the way that I see my work, and especially addressing a problem like climate change, for instance, that is already been labeled as wicked. It's not a tame problem. So a lot of the results that we are trying to see now, we might not see it in our lifetimes, but there are people who will be coming after us, who will reap the benefits of what we're doing right now. So that is like my way of thinking about it. I definitely think that the media plays a very big role in promoting this alarmist approach. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's a way to kind of put
Mhm.
people down, like those who actually want to do something, and kind of uplift those who want to do bad in the world. So, like, fossil fuel companies, those involved in the arms race, all of that's like they can continue to make money. But I think that promoting the fact that there is hope, and that there are actions that are being undertaken, and that there are, like, positive impacts happening, I think for me that's very important, and that's what helps me keep the hope alive.
What I'm hearing you say is, for you, hope, like the way that you maintain hope is by having like a bigger picture, saying it may not happen immediately. You're planting a seed, um, and you're not going to get distracted, or you don't want to be distracted by the alarmist role of the media and others, but saying the seeds that you're planting right now will take time to grow, but you have hope that little by little things will get better. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a dual thing. Like, definitely, for sure, things will get better, but I also see the impact on the ground when we take those, the localized actions. I think that people focus so much on the only on the global scale, and what goes on in the negotiation rooms, that they forget that true impact does happen right at the ground level. Like, even policies, it's ineffective if you don't implement it. And so for us, when we are like, our work is, when people think that, oh, it's just about the environment, it is. It's like environment, society, and economy all interconnected, and that's sustainability, because you can't separate the environment from people.
Mhm.
And so for us, when we're seeing those everyday impacts, just with the solar water farm that I mentioned, that why we built it was because, one, in Kiribati we were seeing that there's an increase of climate change causing rising sea level.
Where's Caribus?
It's an island. It's a Pacific island nation.
Okay.
So in the Pacific, it's a small island developing state. And so, like, small island developing states around the world are facing this, that rising sea levels caused by climate change, increase of salt water coming in and polluting the groundwater, because you can't drink salty water, or you can't grow crops there in the salty soil. And so our solar water farm was installed to purify that water and provide the community with clean drinking water. It's addressing the impacts, like the environmental impacts and the social impacts. In Cambodia, it was because the river water was so polluted, people couldn't drink that water. So that is why we installed it over there. Plus, water filters, distribution of water filters in rural communities there. And we saw a 50% decrease in waterborne diseases in 6 months of installation, and 90% of children are now back in school. And so for us, seeing that impact, like it's super localized, but seeing that impact is what gives us that hope that, okay, we are changing it, like one community at a time, one action at a time, we are creating change. We've planted now over 1.6 million trees all around the world, and those are like indigenous fruit trees. We are working with communities to help reforest areas. We've seen a like such an increase in so many communities where it's like people are now able to grow their own food. The food security has improved as a result of something that people just kind of dismiss as, oh, it's like tree planting. What's that going to do? It's that's a lot for helping hold the soil together, helping prevent landslides. All of these things are really, really important. And these are everyday actions that are happening on the ground and what we are implementing. And so while I do understand that, of course, the results, some of it like might take generations, and that's okay. We are, I also see the everyday impacts of the work that we're doing. And that is like what gives me the hope to keep going, in the sense that, okay, these are the successes that we're celebrating, and that this is what we're continue to replicate and scale. So it's kind of like this dual perspective. It's not like, oh, only like a global perspective or only a local perspective. You need both.
A few emotions are crossing my head. Like, one, it's like, whoa, so cool, and like so many tangible impacts. But B, I'm just like, it's so cool that you can measure all of this, and it says something about your organization where you're able to have that measurable impact. And I feel like sometimes working in the arts, where we're trying to do like projects that are hopeful, hope related, it's sometimes harder to measure that impact. So I'm just like, man, I wish we had some equivalent of that. I don't know how you feel about it, Abby.
No, just funny because I've been in conversations with people in the arts who try to figure that out, and they're literally like, okay, maybe before the show we give people a survey and they rate how hopeful they're feeling, and then at the end they fill out another survey and we can see the difference. It's like, and you're like, God. Okay, that's as close as you can get to measuring.
I've been in situations like that.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, sure, like we can try, but that's when you're on an emotional level, it's so much more abstract, so it's harder to measure. So when you're looking at a situation when you're like, yeah, kids are going back to school, look at that, that's hard to argue with. And I feel like having those mental touchstones when in moments of hopelessness, when you're like, oh, what am I doing? None of this matters. But to be like, oh, wait, this, like, we did this and it worked and it actually helped somebody. I think that is so important. And I think it's really cool that you're actually able to make that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, no, like one is measuring the quantitative data, that's really important, because what gets measured gets done. That's very important. And when we were trying to be like, okay, yeah, stuff is happening, and this is like the impact that we've been able to make. But a lot of it is also qualitative data and stuff that you can't measure. One of the biggest examples is, we see in climate disaster zones that, I mean, obviously women and girls face so many different challenges around the world, but one of the probably worst things that we've seen is women and girls not being able to go out of their homes in the evenings in climate disaster zones, because the instances of rape, trafficking, abuse is so much higher because of a lack of infrastructure and light, because obviously things have been destroyed. And so to provide women and girls with that psychological safety and to protect their mental well-being, we've built solar streetlights we built it in Liberia, in Cambodia, and Bangladesh. And we've that's not something that you can measure, that, oh, who is feeling safe, who isn't like truly safe. But we are seeing, for instance, that more and more girls are now they're able to walk to school at dawn, come back from school in the evenings. More and more women are feeling safe going outside in the evenings. So that is not something that, that safety is not something you can just measure with like an interview or survey, but you can see it slowly and steadily in the way that the community interacts. And so that is the work that we do, one of it for sure is like, okay, yeah, we have the numbers, but it's also about seeing how, as human beings, you act and what you're doing on a daily basis. Like that plays a really big role.
What you were mentioning about the street lights, I never would have thought about that, and that makes so much sense. I'm just curious, kind of as a cross section view of your process. How did
Mhm.
that project come into being? Like, how did you come up with the idea of it? And then I feel like, because you mentioned, where was it? Bangladesh, Liberia,
Liberia, Cambodia. Yeah.
Cambodia. So like, I think, like, from my perspective, if I'm like, oh, those places seem so far away, how do you even impact,
Yeah.
the infrastructure in places, like that? So how did that project happen, and what were the steps that you went through to actually make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, for us at Green Hope Foundation, our members are from the very communities we work
Okay.
in. So to make sure that we're not, imposing solutions and it's not top down, like that's very important for us. It's driven from the ground up. And so our members are people who've experienced these issues, are people who see it on a daily basis. And a lot of them are, very very young, and so that they're like, okay, yeah, we can solve this, versus, oh my gosh, you have to go through so many different steps to solve this. As a lot of, we see that a lot of our uh older members who are there, still youth, but they've that cynicism has kind of set in for them. And so for us, it's like we try to balance that out, seeing, being real about the issues, but also being like, okay, yeah, we can definitely remain optimistic. And so by since they're from the communities, they're able to experience that. They know what the issue is. And then slowly and steadily, we're able to be like, okay, what is a solution that would help solve this problem? And so the community members are deeply involved in the planning, in trying to see, like, okay, where would we place these lights to make sure that we are able to provide the maximum amount of light, where it's kind of the safest, what other measures can be kind of um, put in place to make sure that this is a long-term solution. And that's like also really important for us, that it's not just a one-off project, it's something that's for the long term and it's sustainable.
It's just really cool that you have members all over the world, so that you can have that uh, bottom up approach of people from the communities saying what they need and working together to actually make that happen in a practical way. That's super cool. And I was also thinking, this isn't really a question, this is just a comment. I saw this post that I have not been able to stop thinking about. And it's about youth, really, and energy of youth. The post was basically talking about how everyone's, with Mamdani's win in New York, everyone's been talking about, like, oh, like it's so amazing how hard that he campaigned, and like the energy of his campaign, and like he got people so excited, just like, yeah, he, like, it was so much work, it's incredible, it's so much work. And the post is like, it's actually not incredible for a 34-year-old to have a lot of energy. Like, that's
Crazy.
they're
Maybe
like,
trust youth. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, well, maybe it's just that he's young and excited and has a lot of really cool ideas, and he can fight for that because he's able to do it. And the post was like, maybe we're just far too used to like 80-year-old politicians who can only work for like a couple hours a day, and that's like become our bar of like what we expect. And they're like, well, just wouldn't it be so great if instead we were like, yeah, like our baseline are young people who have the energy and the idealism to like go out there and to actually do what's needed and like serve their communities. And I just, that's just, I don't know, I have not been able to stop thinking about it, because I too was like, wow, that's just amazing how hard he's working. And like, he had, like, not to diminish his accomplishment, but I'm like, yeah, maybe if we had more people under the age of 50, or yeah, under the age of 80, let's set the bar there. Like, maybe more stuff could actually happen. I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I think that young people and youth have been like kind of throughout history. We've like they're just like, oh yeah, the young people are just talking about it again, and it's like, no, it's they've been able to bring about change throughout history because of that optimism, of the drive, about that that idealism, sure, but also that, okay, yeah, we can do
Yeah.
something, and that having the will to do something. I think that's really really important. And honestly, I see that echoed even like we across generations, not just like as young people, but there are so many people, like if you take the feminist movement, for example, there are women who've been working for ages. Like we interact with people who are way above 80, they're in their 90s, they are still so enthusiastic about creating the change because they remember what it was like when they started working out, and they're like and trying to create a better world. And that kind of intergenerational solidarity does exist there, not so much in other movements for sure, but it's something that I'm like, okay, yeah, if you're able to maintain that hope and the fight for good throughout your life, and as younger people and as younger women, we're like, okay, yeah, we're continuing that fight. I think that is like very inspirational for me. We work a lot, when I mentioned older persons, we work a lot with retirement homes here in Canada, working with them, engaging them in various like sustainability initiatives. We have our own organic farm here, so we do a lot of like to help with their mobility and their mental and physical well-being, a lot of like growing their own food, planting, and then we donate that to food banks. I have seen that there is so much enthusiasm and like they want to do more. They're like, okay, there's so much that can be done, and they always tell us that you as young people coming in and working with us, that too gives us hope for a better world. And so I think that it's not to say that, oh yeah, you reach a certain age and then all your hope is gone, or like all your will to do something that's gone. I think that you can definitely maintain that, but yeah, I think there are definitely people who kind of try to push that hope out by doing a lot of war buildings and being like, no, there is no way, you can't have that hope, you can't have that will. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible to have cross-generational will and hope, and we see that with the work that we do with people of all ages. And I definitely think that that's something that harnessing that the hope and the drive of young people and making sure that it stays throughout your life, that's like we try to do that through the work that we do, so that people never lose the hope to do that.
But no, but I'm so sorry. Sorry for the New York noises behind. So
It's funny, just a brief
yeah,
note.
I'm struck.
Tim and I live like a mile apart from each other, and so I feel like sometimes like I'll hear a siren on my end, and then it goes away, and then I like hear it on Tim's end, and I'm like, oh, it's traveled down the street. Just continuation.
Yep, it's gone far. It's like the Doppler effect, but
Yeah.
just us.
Wow, physics terms.
Do you know that's how they measure how far stars are away? They use the Doppler effect with light, and not. Anyways,
Isn't the Doppler effect sound?
no, it's with light too.
Oh wow.
So they measure the same thing happens with light when it travels away. That's how they measure how much entropy is happening in the universe by how much stars are separating. They can measure how fast stars are. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. Kehkashan, what you're saying reminds me a lot about intersectionality, where it also with your example of like the street lights, the solar street lights, where yes, that I'm sure that makes women safer, but it probably makes the whole, like everybody in society safer. When you're finding ways to grow these gardens with older folks, you're finding ways to feed others. So it's interesting how like kind of that youthful hope and hope in climate, hope in others is so connected to hope in so many other areas. But I'm just like, I'm seeing kind of this web spread out with your work and touching so many other areas of things that are needed to address in the world. So yeah, that like, it's one thing where it's like, you should hope in climate because you should hope in all these other aspects. Like it's, yeah, you can't separate them apart. So that's just one thought that I had.
Just wanted to add, like, what was being said about intersectionality. Honestly, that is the core of what we do. Every single thing every solution that we implement is intersectional. We challenges don't exist in silos. Neither should the solutions. I think that every single impact that we're trying to make, the solar streets, as you said, it's like not just the women but everyone, if it's solar powered, so it helps power electricity from the sun, so it's eco-friendly. We're not using fossil fuels. All of it has like positive impact on people and planet. And so many times we've been told that, okay, yeah, but we only work on water, or we only work on climate, or we only work on women's rights. Like, you can't get all of these other things. And then we're like, no, you have to, because just like water insecurity impacts climate vulnerable communities the most, within them women and girls, because they have to walk miles under the hot sun to fetch water, and that means they don't go to school, and that also means that if don't have an educated community, that creates a host of other issues. And of course, you're not able, like, your environment is already getting degraded, so it's all interconnected. And so, yeah, it's very much, intersectionality is a very, very important part of like our ethos. And yeah, it's something that we see on a daily basis, and we're like, yeah, absolutely, do not do things in silos. It's always intersectional, it's always interconnected.
I'm so curious, how do you build out these networks? Like, you work with so many thousands of people all over the world.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Yeah. So like, I mean, because this intersectionality approach is brilliant. But then, okay, sorry, this is a big question. But how do you meet these people? Like, how do you find people to bring in from all those different expertise, speciality of like water, solar, energy, whatever. And then also people from different countries and different walks of life, different ages. Like, how do you get all of them on the same Zoom call, or like in the same organization? How does that work?
Yeah, because like here you are in Toronto, and you're like Cambodia, island country in the Pacific, Africa. Like I'm like, whoa, how do you? Yeah, I had a similar question.
Yeah, I mean, one, like, people actually reach out to us for the
Cool.
most part. And if sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, that's a lot of people that we're with, a lot of communities. Because when I started out, it was literally me and 5 people. That's it. That was how I started, because I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to reach out to these people. We are going to do like education academies. That was our first like big thing that we did, this education sustainability academy for the local schools. And that was so interesting. And people were like, the teachers were like, oh my gosh, that's conducted by like people who are the same age as our students, and that's something we've never seen. And so the students were super excited, and we had like a tree planting session as part of it. And that is how that was our first kind of big activity. And then people started reaching out to us, and we're like, okay, can we do this here as well? Can we do these take these ground level actions? And the students are feeling hopeful. That was like for a few years that we were doing that. Then in 2015, there was a community that reached out to us, saying that, and this was in Western India, that a lot of the people who are in these communities and the children, they don't have a source of light at night, and if that's something you could help with, that would be great. And so 3 of our members, we actually went there to see what what this issue that they were talking about was. And it was like, the salt pans of India, a lot of the children would not have electricity at night to be able to study. And so we did a solar lamp distribution there, and also like a training session on helping to use those lamps. And that was kind of our first international project that we'd done. And we still work with that community to this day, because we've built a solar STEM lab there. We have an agrovoltaic system to help with help address food insecurity in the region using solar for agriculture. That we have girls who are part of that STEM lab, and they've been graduates. They've been able to get good jobs, and so that was kind of like the starting point, that someone had reached out to us. And then more and more people started, kind of through word of mouth, reaching out to us. And we were like, oh yes, absolutely, we can work on this. They've become our members. They're taking these everyday actions on the ground. And so that is kind of how it went about. And I think we sometimes ignore the fact that through word of mouth, and through seeing these actual actions take place, and other people wanting to kind of replicate and scale that up, like, we ignore the power of that, the power of connection. We're so focused on like, oh, okay, we do this, and then we do this, and that's it. That kind of mindset was never part of like our work. We're like, okay, yeah, how can we continue to do the work? And when people reached out to us, we were like, yes, absolutely, we can help with that we can help be the catalyst for change there. And that's kind of how we grew. Young people seeing other young people create change and being like, okay, yeah, I want to do something in my community too. And I think that, this would be really beneficial. And then our young members are like, oh yes, absolutely, let's work together. And that's how it goes.
Cool. That makes sense. It really is like a snowball effect that you start and then people, I don't know, I think everyone is so hungry for examples, like we were talking about before, like just things they can point to be like, oh, well, yeah, there's someone who's doing something that makes me feel like I can do something too. And so to just be visible as an example, I think people are so hungry for that they're like, okay, them, like, let's work with them, like they're making stuff happen and I want to make stuff happen, so let's join forces. And so I feel like, because I don't know, we've had so many conversations, people are like, oh, like, I really want to get involved, like I want to like do something, I just don't know where to start. And our advice is always, well, just look around your community, see, like, find someone who's already doing something that's adjacent to what you want to do and go work with them, and then you'll get the momentum to figure out your own thing. And so I feel like, to me, it feels like you are, and like Green Hope Foundation is like one of those pillars that people can look towards and be like, oh, okay, it's possible, let's, like, we can do it too. And that just like spawns out and creates then, the people that you are working with, the younger people that are growing up in your in your foundation then are going out and being those examples to others. And so I don't know, now I'm just getting emotional, but I'm like, this is how change actually happens. Like, this is how, like, this is what hope means. Stop laughing at me, don't laugh at me. Yes, I'm like,
weep.
just start crying. I'm like, now I have to leave. But anyway, that's really beautiful. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, we have had members who've literally grown up with the organization. We turned 13 this year. I've grown up with the organization.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you on behalf of Green Hope Foundation. Yeah,
Yes.
so we were able to kind of see that over the last 13 years, literally, we've been able to create so much impact. We've literally seen people go from, like, what we've had members who joined when they were 6, and then they grew up, and then they're in high school and they're going to university, and they are continuing to lead the change. They are members of society who are really giving that hope to other people as well. And yeah, I think for us, it's kind of maintaining that is very important, because we're like, it's not something that so many people told us that, and told me that, oh yeah, she's just doing it as a school project and then it's going to fizzle out and she's going to go to college and get a job.
It's just a phase.
Yeah, it should literally just a phase. And then someone I'd met at Rio, like at the conference, and that started Green Hope Foundation, that she was like, oh my gosh, you're still doing this, it's so wonderful, I never thought that someone would kind of sustain that. And like, for us, it's not a project or just a one-off, it's a way of life. And that kind of empathy and hope and compassion for people and planet, that's what we try to maintain. And even like joining someone else, like, that's great, and like trying to work together. But also, like, our advice is also to that if you can't see something around you, start it yourself. Like, take that extra first step yourself. Like, for me, that's what I did. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, I saw this image of the dead bird. I'd attended a lecture by environmentalist Robert Swan at the time, like when I was 7, and his words, the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. That resonated with me really, really deeply. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, why would I leave it to someone else? I'll take that first step. That was what I did with Green Hope Foundation. And it wasn't meant to be like, oh yeah, I'm starting this organization and that's how I'm going to work. It was literally just to create more change. So yeah, I think that it looks different for different people, whether you're engaging as an individual in your community or we're engaging like at like really large scale work. Taking that action, doing something good is what's most important. And so yeah, trying to find a community and trying to engage with other people and working, that's extremely important. If you can't find that, start it yourself. Like, no action is too small in our in our book. Like, honestly, you're able to see so much change with people starting out with that one action. It doesn't have to be something humongous right away. So yeah, I think that's an important advice. Start out with that first step.
Yeah, we've been focusing on that. We have a gathering, and shout out for folks in New York that want to join us. Community members that meet every month, talk about different themes of things that people are interested in, whether it's AI, whether it's climate related, whether it's protest related. Yeah, one theme of just saying, like, how do you take that first step, even if it's the littlest step, like getting going. Like, and I'm right now training for a marathon, so everything feels like an analogy to me right now. So I go away, Abby. I'm turning into that person. Whatever.
My first
but
step
no, but it's just like the
training turns into the 26. Every 26.2.
Okay, yes, that
mile
was
journey
pretty much what I
begins
was
with
going
a
to say.
single
Whatever.
step forward.
Okay, Abby just spoke for me, so
Sorry.
So yeah, pretty much. Just take a step. Thanks, Abby. I'll just shut up now because you stole my poetry from me. Yeah, that was the point I was gonna make. Yeah, take a first step.
Literally, yeah. I mean, that's literally how you start. I mean, no one is kind of, it's not like you're born and then you just start doing a lot of work and that's like, oh wow, they did so much. But it's not like that. I mean, every single person had to take that first step. Sure, it depends on who that person is and how many resources they had access to, and like, it's like the playing field isn't level for sure, but it is like about taking that first step. Like for me, my first step was to, like, I was like, okay, the planting that first tree, I never ever imagined that, okay, from planting that first tree to, being here and like running Green Hope Foundation, having so much of impact. Like that was, I didn't even think about that okay, this was what I was gonna do. It was literally like, okay, someone needs to do something. And I think that taking this first step, like that symbolizes the beginning of my journey. And yeah, I think that we've taken that first step many times in many communities around the world. The example I gave about, in Western India, again, when we had done that solar lamp distribution, we never thought that 10 years later we'd be having like this whole kind of school there that educates so many people, and have been able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the communities and ensure that kind of like this balance between people and planet. So yeah, I think we underestimate the power of taking that first step, no matter how big or small it is. And yeah, I think we'd be able to create a lot more positive impact if, and I think that young people are great at this. Like, okay, yeah, let's just go out there and do it. That kind of approach is, we'll, if we see that a lot more in our decisioning, like, okay, yeah, maybe instead of debating about whether something is going to be good, like a climate policy or a gender just policy, like, okay, yeah, let's see, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. Trying to go out there and kind of just do it, it definitely does help. So taking that first step, and yeah, there's risk involved, but yeah, it's daunting, but these challenges aren't insurmountable. So like just maintaining that mindset is very important for us.
That's like a fantastic note to end on. That's perfect. I feel like we could keep talking for forever, but no, this is a nice tie the bow moment. So we'll keep it there and then continue the conversation another time. I'm curious if people listening, if they want to get involved with what you're doing, how can the people find you? Where can they see what you're doing and get involved?
Yeah, I mean, check out our website for sure. It's thegreenhopefoundation.org. Our members are, since we work all around the world, we are literally online 24/7. So we are just a click away. Like if you want to get involved, please do reach out to us. Like our website or our social media. If you type Green Hope Foundation on social media, you'd be able to find us there. So yeah, no, reach out to us. We love to hear from people who are passionate about making a change. So yeah, and we've built so many connections that way. So yeah, just reach out to us, and we would love to work with you and see how we can create a better future for all.
Thank you everyone so much for listening to this episode of Project Spiral. We would love to hear from you. We'd love for you to get involved. The best way to do that is to follow us on Instagram. We are at Project Spiral, so go check us out, follow along, send us a DM, or you can email us at projectspiral@gmail.com.
We are also on TikTok. We are also on LinkedIn. And we would love it if you can do nothing else at the end of this episode, please leave us a review. That is the best way for us to get the word out about this podcast. If you're in New York, please join us for our monthly Lyceum meetings. Basically do teach-ins at each other's apartments and cultivate a practice of hope in many different fields and areas. And watch out for our upcoming generation. I'll post more information about that soon. You're just one step away before the marathon of climate change. There we go. Abby could steal all my marathon poetry. Kehkashan, well, thank you so much. This is wonderful talking with you. Yeah, the work that you're doing is amazing. Hope building and finding that little seed to grow that tree. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really enjoyed speaking with the both of you, and I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. You as well.
This has been a production of Little Scorpion Studios.